Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session on the IMDG code transition from Amendment 4020 to 4122. We welcome all of you. We have about 901 people who've already joined as of now. We're waiting for a few more people to join. In the meanwhile, a very quick information. Whatever questions you would have regarding this session, would request you to please place your questions only in the Q&A box. Do not use the chat box for giving any questions. It will be difficult for us to compile. We'd request you to please write the questions only in a Q&A box. Q&A box is a different box from chat box, so please do not write questions in the chat box. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this great afternoon. Today's speaker, well, he needs no introduction, but Mr. Haresh Lalwani is the Managing Director of Sun Logistics. He has over 35 years of experience in this industry, specializing in the ISO tanks, tank spares, dangerous cargo logistics. He's been a panelist and speaker on dangerous cargo, ISO tank and liquid cargo supply chain seminars and conferences across the world. He's also part of AMTOY. He heads the training subcommittee and the Liquid Logistics Council. So his introduction is going to go on and on and on. But most important, we want to thank him because today he spared time for this training in between his holiday from Goa. He's making us jealous also that he's enjoying in Goa, but then he's been kind enough to come in between his holiday and help us with this special training. So welcome, Hareshji. Thank you very much for your time. And we'd like to say thank you to your family to allowing you to come and attend, do this session for us. And over to you.
Thank you. So yeah, my family's all gone out for lunch. So don't worry. They're not here. Once they come back, then we'll decide how it goes. So yes, namaste, good afternoon to everyone. And, let's start this session. Now I want to, the new IMDG code is 4122. And we are currently going to be speaking about what are the changes that are being this is the transition from Amendment 4020 to 4122. Okay, now this is how we are going to work. Okay, there are going to be topics and I'll tell you that the changes that are actually there. So the so before I start, one thing I had requested everyone that whether they have their IMDG books in front of them for reference or no. I really hope you have your IMDG books in front of you because it'll just make it easier for you to understand what the changes are. And as we all know that IMDG is all about reference. So you don't have to remember all 3 volumes of the book. You have to keep referring. So let's start with that. So there are total of, in the definitions topic, that's chapter 1, you have, changes. There are 4 new definitions and 12 amendments. Okay, the description that includes the IAEI definitions, then the dangerous goods list, there is new and 5. So the new UN number is 3550 cobalt dihydroxide powder. Provision, there are 3 new tools. So the special provisions that are new are SP 396, SP 397, and SP 398. Packing instructions, there are 35 amendments, but there are no new packing instructions. Packaging standards, there's one whole new chapter on FRP. Emergency response, there are 2 amendments. the UN number 1891 is now F-E and S-D, and UN number 3550 is F-A and S-A for emergency response. So this was just the gist of what we will be talking about. Now, before I start, I have to make one thing very, very clear. This is going to be a highly technical session. So when I'm saying it's a technical session, I am assuming, and we all are assuming, that you are certified and trained in the IMDG code. You know how to refer the IMDG code. You know where to look at and for what to look at. Okay. While we will be highlighting some interesting changes and discuss our thoughts on how they will impact the industry, please do note that there are over 300 plus changes that have come in, or amendments that have come in into the IMDG code. So it's absolutely not going to be possible for us to discuss all 300 of them. You will have to come for sessions, I think, every day for 6 hours for the next 15 days, and maybe we would be able to close all the topics over there. So yes, let's start. So we are in the IMDG timeline today. We are in a transition year. Now, what is a transition year? I'm sure if you're trained, you will already know. But just to bring it to your notice, that in this year, both 4020 and 4122 are in force. That means you can use both the IMDG codes in this transition year. From 1st of 4020 will become redundant. So even if you are using it now,
yes. Hareji, your voice is breaking up quite a bit. So is there a network issue or something?
It is? Okay, just give me a second. Where's it? They're having a problem with the voice. Is it?
It's breaking in between.
No. The Wi-Fi. On the table over this. That dongle. I might have to change my Wi-Fi over here. So give me a second. I'll do that.
Yes, because it's an important session. We don't want to be missing anything.
One sec. I'm going to change to a dongle so that hopefully. Okay, is it better now?
Much better, much better. It's perfectly fine.
Okay,
now.
Sorry for that.
No problem.
Okay, so let me start again. So let's talk about the IMDG timeline. So yes, we are a transition year. So the transition year means that in this year, both 4020 and 4122, both the amendments are currently in force. So you can use both. It is preferable that you follow the 4122 so that you are absolutely trained in the new amendment 4122, but you can also accept whatever is mentioned in the code 4020, the amendment 4020. However, from January 1st, 2024, 6 months from now, only 4122 will be active and 4020 will become redundant. So you will never be able to use that again. You will have to follow the 4122 amendment only. Is it clear now, Vasant? Is it okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you. So let's get to the major changes. So the major changes are addressing FRP tanks and the International Atomic Energy Agency's input in handling Class 7. So Class 7 is all about radioactive. I will come to that also. I will be also discussing on the minor changes which are of note to our industry and for us to understand. So the new self-reactive and organic peroxides, classification rules updated for Class 6 and Class 8, new special provisions that have come in, dangerous goods list updates, and the consignment procedure, which will include the documentation, labeling, marking, classification. These are the clarifications that we shall be looking at. So let's start with the first major change, and the first major change is about FRP tanks. Now, fiber reinforced plastics are used in manufacturing of tank containers. This has been going on for the last 10 to 15 years, where, there were a lot of experiments that took place, and a few companies also manufactured these FRP tanks for carriage of all kinds of liquid cargo and specifically for dangerous cargo. So because it was reinforced plastic and not steel, the possibility of carriage of cargoes that were reacting with steel earlier is now so much more. So what we need to understand is that these fiber reinforced plastics, which are called the FRP tank containers, are going to be a new thing in the future. So we all have to be prepared for it. And based on that, the IMDG code has now been updated with guidance on how the design, what the design is, how do you construct this tank? So complete details on construction, then inspection of this, that how do you need to inspect the tank while it is being manufactured and while it is being used and while it is being tested, and also what are the testing requirements. So FRP tanks are going to be the new kid in the block in the tank container business. And the impact on the industry is that the norms on handling FRP tanks are now under the new code. So standardization for FRP tank handling procedures is now required. And you cannot say that I will handle it this way. It has to be handled specifically as per the new IMDG code. So yes, the IAEA regulations. So what is this? This is basically for transport of radioactive cargo or radioactive goods which fall under Class 7. So now the code has been harmonized with the IAEA regulations. So which means that the language, units, and measurements used in the IMDG code will reflect the guidance documents from IAEA, the association. And so you'll have updated classification guidelines. You'll have, provisions for construction, testing, and approval of packages for radioactive material. Now, though radioactive material is not something that is handled by everybody in our industry, and currently in India, it is only handled by Navy, and very, 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 very little and very specific goods are handled by some private operators. The point is that this change is huge, and today it is in Class 7, but you should understand that it is also important for us to understand this, that this is a new big thing in the IMDG code. And as you progress, you will see that in the next few years, bigger changes will come in the other classes. And that is why this is also as important. So yeah, like I said, while class 7 is uncommon, it is worth noting that the IMDG code depends on several other organizations' inputs. So what happens is over a period of time, it is not just the United Nations or the IMO. You have associations from all over the globe which get together with all kinds of incidents that take place and try to create better safety measures so that carriage of dangerous cargo is getting safer and safer by the day. This time, which is for class 7, the rules are updated based on all the new research and incidents. Maybe our customers are not aware of it, but tomorrow, if a customer asks you something about class 7, you will have to give them the new amendments that have come in. So what has worked in the past might not apply for future shipments of class 7. So you need to make sure that, when you have some inquiry, what you need to be sure of is right here. Now there is a new substance. It's a new self-reactive substance in class 4.1. It has been given a UN number 3230. And it's called 7-methoxy-5-methyl-benzene thiophene 2YL boronic acid. And if you, I'm sure you'll have to open up your IMDG books to know where this is going to be. Then the new organic peroxides in class 5.2, you will see it as UN number 3105, tertial butyl peroxy isopropyl carbonate, UN 3107, acetyl acetone peroxide, and UN 3117, tertiary hexyl peroxypivalate. Now, these are the new substances that have come into the IMDG code. So what is the impact to our industry? You see, class 4.1 and class 5.2, they are beyond being dangerous. They are also cargoes of high consequence. So when there is a cargo of high consequence, that means that this cargo can also be used other than for regular reasons, for reasons that may cause any kind of problems for a country. So new formulations have been accounted for and have been tested, and it is vital that the industry stays up to date on this. Now, when you look at this and these new items that have come in, if you handle a class 4.1 or 5.2, and you will require an advanced understanding of the IMDG code. So until and unless you are not trained, again, I'm sorry I keep repeating, but I have to say it, that you have to be trained and certified at any given time to handle any dangerous cargo. And when I say handle, that means documentation, that means any kind of handling, whether you are loading it, stuffing it, creating a document, transporting it, shipping it, using it in the port. So at every link of the chain, you have to be sure that if you are not trained and you have such dangerous goods that come in, especially classes like 4.1 and class 5.2, you better be careful. Now there's a change in the classification in class 8. The criteria for packing groups has been changed over there. And in class 9, the button cells that are installed in equipments will be exempted from testing requirements for batteries and cells. So yes, now when you are transporting anything that has button cells installed in the equipment, you will not require, they are now exempt from any testing requirements. So that is also a good thing. So, watches and phones and mobile phones or computers, anything that has these button cells in them will definitely be now exempt from testing. But in this 6 months, There can be somebody who can always ask you that, no, I still require a testing certificate if it's a button cell, if he's still referring to the earlier code. So what happens? The packing group affects the maximum amount of cargo per inner packaging. And many dangerous goods have multiple entries in the dangerous goods list. So if you look at it, it's 1760 corrosive liquid, not otherwise specified, has all three packaging codes. And what will happen now is an out of date SDS can lead to a misdeclaration or an accident. So if your safety data sheet is now not corrected or changed, or for the new items, if you don't have the new ones, then you are heading in for a misdeclaration. And it is always best that you make sure that whenever you receive an SDS, it is one of the latest ones. It has been updated, and you have to check with your customer at any given time that is it updated or no, and are they updated as per the latest requirements. So now coming to the special provisions. So there are three new special provisions. So what happens? The SP 396. This is going to provide you guidance on how to handle large and robust articles containing gas. Okay. And what do you mean by large and robust articles that contain gas? You have to start looking into your IMDG book, and it applies to what? UN number 3538. Articles containing non-flammable, non-toxic gases, not otherwise specified. Then comes SP 397. Mixtures containing more than 23.5% oxygen cannot be classified as 1003. UN number 1003 is air compressed. So what was happening was that people were using UN 1003 to transport maybe even oxygen, which was 60% or 70% or 100% oxygen, saying it's air and it's compressed. Then comes SP 398. These are for specific isomers of butylene and cannot be classified under 1012. So butylene was earlier being classified as 1012. Now you have butylene plus specific isomers of butylene, which will not be classified under UN 1012. So special provisions will provide specific and detailed guidance on handling of a certain dangerous goods. And they're often used to close loopholes and maintain safety. Now, what happens is that as we keep progressing and as we keep, shipping more and more products which are dangerous goods, everyone starts deciding that, oh, what if we put it under this UN number and then it will be easier to carry it. Now, the more the people decide to do their own, the more specific the IMDG code gets on every amendment. And now the whole idea is to make sure that all these loopholes which earlier existed don't exist anymore, and the safety levels go as high as possible. Now, why is all this happening? Now, this is happening because if you see in today's date, the size of the ships are so large, their turnaround times are so low. There is so much cargo that is going in, being offloaded, being loaded onto the vessels, being discharged, stuffed, that there can be mistakes because you need to meet timelines. And if you do not have specific information, you are going to make a mistake, hopefully unknowingly. But as it is, our industry is also famous, or let me say, people try to believe that they know more than the IMDG and try to find loopholes where, they can do things that they are not supposed to do. So yes, this is the industry impact on that. Now the dangerous goods list that's been updated, the UN number UN 3550, which I mentioned earlier, cobalt dihydroxide powder come in. UN 1169 extracts aromatic liquid and UN 1197 extracts flavoring liquid are merged now into UN number 1197 extracts liquid for flavor or aroma. The next one is UN number 1891 ethyl bromide. This was class 6.1 and is now class 3 subclass 6.1. And for this, the new LQ, EQ, and the EMS have also come in. So I'm sure people know what LQ, EQ is. LQ is limited quantities, EQ is accepted quantities. And then you have UN 3527, packing group 2 and packing group 3, polyester resin kit, solid base material. Accept quantity is no longer EO, E0. That means it cannot be transported when it was E0, it could not be transported as exempted quantity. The EQ limit must now be determined by using special provision 340. So am I going too fast or? So what is the industry impact on this? When I say industry, it's our shipping industry. What we have to do. So the cobalt dihydroxide powder is used to be, which was earlier moved as UN 3077, environmentally hazardous substance not otherwise specified, now has a specific entry, UN 3550. So any SDS showing UN 3077 environmentally hazardous substance NOS and into brackets cobalt dihydroxide powder, it does not violate the IMDG code today. But beginning of 1st Jan 2024, this will become a violation. So yes, you can carry it now, but please do understand that it is best that when you come to these specific entries that have been mentioned over here, you start referring to the latest amendment. Please do not wait or tell, inform a customer that it is absolutely okay to do it now. It is always best because there will come a time when you will be at the cusp, maybe in a December or November, and the cargo reaches the player destination when the new code is in effect. You may or may not be in problems, but always it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, UN number 1891 will be labeled and placarded differently. And UN number 1169 is not a valid UN number from 2064. So yes, a safety data sheet that was acceptable for years together may not be acceptable come 1st January 2024. So there will be a lot more SDSs that you will receive. And until and unless you are not sure of the UN numbers, please do not go ahead and accept cargo. You may come into a problem. I'm using the word may, but if you really ask, you definitely would be in problems if you do something like this. So yes, it's very necessary to understand all these new changes. Now there have been changes in the consignment procedures, that's marking, labeling, and documentation. So lithium battery mark no longer requires a phone number to be displayed. Now, when I say does not require, does not mean that it is stopped from today. So if your customer or the products already have something, the lithium battery mark with the phone number would be allowed. It's not that it's going to shut down even by the 1st of January 2024. They will give you another 2 years. By the year 2026, the lithium battery mark will no longer need phone numbers to be displayed. But it is always better that whatever new documentation and stickers or marks and placards that are being made should be made now without a phone number. Now, changes in the PSN rules is the subject substances that are molten, stabilized, or temperature controlled must have these phrases in the PSN on documentation. So there are a lot of products that, are either molten or filled in where they're actually solid. They're then melted, heated to a certain temperature, and then filled into drums or tank containers or any other cargoes. Then there are some cargoes that react a lot, so they are stabilized by stabilizers being added in there. And there are many cargoes that are temperature controlled, like reefer cargo, and there are also temperature controlled tanks and products which hold on to a certain temperature. Now, what happens is that the proper shipping name now needs to mention whether it is molten, stabilized, or temperature controlled. So earlier, if a product was XYZ and UN number so and so, now if it is loaded while being heated, or it has a stabilizer in it, or is temperature controlled, the proper shipping name will have to mention in all documents whether it is molten or stabilized or temperature controlled. So what are the future changes that we are expecting? Now, the biggest change that we are expecting is going to be the lithium battery rules. Okay. And there are associations working all over the world on the big changes in the lithium battery rules. Now, these changes earlier were different when it was only limited to, smaller items like mobile phones and all this. But now with the EV cars coming in and lithium battery being used in such large quantities, transportation of dangerous goods as in lithium batteries with cars is becoming a must. And to make sure that the distribution is done correctly, you will see a lot of changes coming in the lithium battery rules very soon. And I may not be surprised if those regulations come in the next 3 months or 4 months also, which you have to be prepared for. But definitely, I think by the next amendment, you will have that. The other is addressing misdeclarations involving carbon. That's UN number 1361 and 1362. And this has always been a problem because you have to declare, you have to show a test report showing the reactiveness of carbon when you want to load it, depending on 1361 and 1362. The other changes that are coming, there'll be a lot more UN numbers that are going to be introduced. A lot of chemical companies, the new chemicals are being produced, which have their own perils and have their own dangers. And while they are now being transported as general cargo, as in dangerous goods, but under certain UN numbers, slowly, you will see that these UN numbers will become more specific, will become more product specific, which will make sure that, the safety index is really, really very high. So this is what you will expect in the future. So while we were talking about IMDG, we've been discussing IMDG and what are the changes. Let me also bring you to the fact that the Bureau of Indian Standards has just now released a new Indian standard. It's called the IS 18149 of 2023. These are the guidelines for transportation of dangerous goods. So let me, Antoy has spent a lot of time, energy in getting this, in being part of this BIS standard. It is currently not mandatory that you have to be trained as per the Indian standard. But these are the guidelines that have come in. So if you start following these guidelines, and these guidelines are slowly going to turn into a standard, which will make it compulsory for every person to be trained. So if you can, if it is possible, you should start looking at this particular standard, specifically for transportation of dangerous goods in India, and try and follow these standards. Now, this standard is also going to be changed and amended from time to time. We are looking at it on a 90-day basis to basically see what further can be added. And this will only happen after we get feedback from everybody. But what is more important is that it is also aligned with the IMDG code. It mentions that when you need to ship cargo by sea, you have to use the IMDG code. And it is also going to make training mandatory. It will require logistic service providers to understand the best practices related to this specific mode of transport. So I request everyone to download it. We will also, from Amtoy's part, make sure that we will send a mail with the new standard to all our members. You can share it with people and make sure that everyone goes through it and tries a new beginning. Because if the government of India has looked at something like this, it's a huge step forward, and it'll help our industry move ahead, with so much more safety and security. So just a discussion, who is responsible for an accurate SDS? So if I really need to say, you are more than welcome to now put your comments on the chat. It's absolutely fine for this discussion. So if you have something you would like, yes, someone has said, is shipper responsible? For an accurate SDS? So yes, you are right. A shipper is responsible, but he is not the only person responsible. Let's look at it in a very different angle. Okay, that's good. DG desk also has to check and confirm. No, Vasant, it's good over here. We're just doing a chat. It's not about questions, so it's good over here. Any questions, they can put it over there. It's fine. So my point here is that now consider yourself as a person who is doing business, and you have a chartered accountant. So what do you do every time you need to take a decision on accounting that you feel there is a doubt? You go back to your chartered accountant to ask him who is a specialist, and you go back to him and ask him this question that, what do you think? Am I doing something right or wrong? Oh, I have this GST query. Where do I go with it? I'm just breaking this session a little just to make people understand that as an LSP, if you are also trained and you create yourself and you show yourself to be a thorough professional in dangerous goods, you can also help your customer, because maybe the customer does not know the international standards or new requirements or new amendments as per the IMDG code. But you are doing it on a day-to-day basis. So yes, it also becomes your responsibility to update the customers that the rules have changed. And just like any other professional that you are working with, whether it is your GST, whether it's your chartered accountant or cost accountant or anybody else, this is what I am trying to bring forth. That blaming is not going to work. Working together is going to work better. Because you will say, oh, the shipper is supposed to tell me. No, you are also supposed to inform the shipper, because the shipper is saying, okay, according to me, I didn't know that this change ever happened. But as an LSP, you knew that this change has happened. Maybe today you know that these changes are happening. So should you not go back to your shipper and tell him that, okay, these are the changes. This is your product. Your SDS will change now. Your way of carriage will change. Maybe the packing will change. The packing group has changed. There are so many things that can be discussed. And this is what we want to bring forth, that everybody who is handling dangerous goods, and if you are not trained, you are not certified, you may cause more harm than just, doing the transportation or completing a certain logistics transportation. But imagine if you are doing it wrong. Because if you don't know and your customer doesn't know, where do we all stand? And you need to understand that we today, specifically in the case of India, where the infrastructure is being built, there are so many new things that are coming up, the new roads, the new highways, traffic is going to get faster, and the more chaos that comes in, the possibility of incidents will also be higher. So until you don't bring in safety and security in the complete logistics chain, and I mean right from the shipper to the consignee, and beyond that, on both sides, also where they procure their products from and where the consignee dumps their waste products, is all that has to come together for us to build a better future and to understand and have knowledge and keep gaining knowledge by discussing. There is no harm ever in saying that I don't know. The basic fact that you say I don't know, and you have an IMDG book next to you, you can refer. Please, when it comes to dangerous goods, don't say I know. Nobody knows. Everyone has to do this as reference. And even when you look at your IMDG book at any given time and you keep referring to it, there may be points where you yourself will get confused that should I be doing it over here or no. So until and unless you're not properly trained, you will never be able to guide your customer in all their requirements which need to be fulfilled for you to transport the cargo on an international basis. So yes, that was it from me.
That was one fantastic session, Hareji. Thank you very much. We have very limited questions, not much on the topic. So I'm assuming that your training was so clear that they don't have. But we know that you're always available for help, and people, all our employee members especially, can write down to us and ask for these questions. They can contact us at admin@amtoy.org if they have any questions, and we can cover that up later. Mr. Harish would be happy to answer those questions later.
Definitely, at any time that you want it.
Yes. So some of the questions which have come is that do dry and wet batteries, are they has or non-has?
Batteries of all kinds are basically has. Now, when they're moving it depends what it is being used for. It depends how it is being packed. So that is exactly why, until and unless you do not look at the IMDG book and you don't go to the UN number, you will never be able to understand that, it's not about just the UN number. The UN number will lead you to a packing group. The packing group will lead you to a special provision. The special provision will tell you, what is the requirement. It will tell you how to pack it. It will tell you how to, make sure that if there is is there an insulation so that at any given time, even if it is submerged in water, that, the two terminals will not come in contact with each other. So there are so many things that need to be understood. And these are all mentioned in the IMDG code. And the IMDG code, like I said, it's not something that you have to remember. You can look at it by name, you can look at it by UN number, you can look at it by any description, you will find it. But the thing is that we don't want to do it. And what we do today is, you know, I get an SDS, I take that SDS and forward it to you. And you get it and you forward it to somebody else. And then it goes to the shipping line and the shipping line comes back. And then what happens is that the customer is not getting his reply in that certain time. Because now, you know, you've sent it to 10 different shipping lines. All those shipping lines are saying, okay, this I can carry, but I will do it this way and I will do it this way. But if you knew what the IMDG code was, you would have mentioned it and you would have been able to, you know, present your documents properly and get a revert back. So yes, like, you know, today I am not speaking about basics at all, you know, because it's a highly technical thing, and we were sure we mentioned that it's, you know, it's very technical, and until and unless you don't open the IMDG book, you will not be able to understand on whether you've been referring it to or not. So you have to give me an SDS, and I can only look at the SDS and tell you how it can be carried. So when someone says, "Oh, can I carry this? Is it hazardous or non-hazardous?" So the first question to that person is, does it have a UN number or does it not have a UN number? Anything in this world that has a UN number is dangerous goods, and it has to be referred to IMDG. A simple statement.
Right. So there are three more questions which has just come up. Which company issues SDS certificate to the shipper?
So there are specialized companies that create SDSs for companies that are manufacturing the cargo. And so you will find people, traders who also have SDSs. But the trader is buying from a certain company. You know, the same UN number can have as many different SDSs. Because the way it is being manufactured, the products that have been used to manufacture that product, the final product, may be different, the procedure may be different. So yes, the SDS will be different for every manufacturer. And there are organizations in this world that make professional SDSs for chemical manufacturers.
So the next question which is coming, should MSDS mention that it is made as per 4122, the new code?
First of all, it is not called the MSDS anymore.
Yes.
So the first mistake is, please don't call it MSDS. It's no longer a material safety data sheet. It is only a safety data sheet. Now, usually globally, it is assumed that at least every 3 years, everyone updates their SDS. And also, if there are any changes, whether it is in packing or whether it is in manufacturing, so every time that there is a change in any process or of any findings, that a new MSDS, as an updated SDS, has to be released, and all the other releases should then be removed out of circulation. So it should only be in records, but it should not be in circulation. So yes, you need to update your SDS depending on any change that happens to your product in any manner, even if an alphabet changes, or if there is a -1 to a -2 or whatever. So you need to make those changes.
And someone has mentioned as the changes will take place in the new amendment 41 to 22, or is it that it's going to take effect immediately? When is the changes going to be effective?
So we are in a transition period. That was my first slide, which says that the changes are in effect, but you can use both the amendments in this year till 1st January 2024, after which these will become compulsory. All the changes will become mandatory and compulsory.
And the last question someone has asked is, please tell about Flashpoint.
Mention 62 degrees ASTMT. Carrier asks the flashpoint is in minus or plus degrees. So, again, this is something that, when you look at an SDS, you should be able to know, and the SDS should be complete. But if it is minus or plus, it will always be mentioned in the SDS. So it's not something that the shipping line, if the shipping line is asking, maybe somebody on that desk also does not know or feels that this SDS has been doctored. So yes, the flashpoint can be minus as well as plus. And it all depends when you're talking flashpoint, whether it's closed cup, open cup, there are many different. So I cannot really explain flashpoint without understanding what product we are talking about and under what circumstances the flashpoint has to be, calculated.
I can suggest that the person can send us email.
There is a huge article about flashpoints in the IMDG code also.
Yeah. So if maybe they can send a detailed email to you or to AMTOI admin ID.
They're more than welcome to send, but I am I need to make this very clear that Priya, until and unless they do not know how to refer to an IMDG book and a person is not trained and certified. And I keep mentioning trained and certified because you need to get certified by a retraining every 2 years for every new amendment. So if you are trained and certified for the last amendment, that's 4020, you are still trained till the end of December. But what happens on January 1st? Your certificate has expired. So now you decide whether you want to do your training now or in December, whether you want to follow the new amendment or the old amendment. It all depends on you. So the lines, usually what they try to do is they try to get into the new amendment during this transition period. However, they will accept as per the older amendment if they know that the voyage that is going to happen will be within the period of that year. But I would never suggest something like this, because many a times if there is a problem and the container starts or the container starts leaking or there is some problem and then the whole amendment, the code changes, you're into deep problems, including your insurance, that's for sure. So if you ask me, I would say get trained right now, get your new certification done. You will, and then only move forward. So when you come up with questions saying that, a flashpoint and this and that, that means you've not looked at the IMDG code, you've not trained in that, you've not been reading the SDSs. It's very necessary, especially in technical sessions. Now, this is a very small technical session that we did. But when you get into dangerous cargoes, the technical sessions can really, really get technical. And the chemicals, the name of chemicals and how they are handled, you need to understand that. So that's why the first step is take the first step of just making sure that you are trained in dangerous goods, in the IMDG code. And then there are further courses that take you to more specialization, whether you're a packer or whether you are a document person or whether you are using it in the port or what are your handlings that are of the cargo. So you need to understand all these things. If people feel that, as AMTOI, we need to bring forth that once again, where we do a full, a program which brings forth understanding of what the IMDG code is, we'll happily do it. But then people need to understand that they have to take that one step forward to be trained and be certified to handle dangerous goods. Because
Absolutely.
the first chapter of the IMDG book, if anyone has it, open the first chapter and the first thing that comes in is training. So the book begins with training.
So one
So
next,
it's very necessary that people do it.
so one next question is VRLA batteries, non-spillable batteries, class 8 with UN number 2800 SP238 is considered as DG or non-DG cargo?
Does it have a UN number?
Yeah, UN 2800 SP238.
I rest my case.
Then the next question is how appropriate is to accept one SDS with two different UN numbers? That be a problem?
Uh, uh, sorry. I am
One
not
SDS
very clear.
having one SDS having multiple UN numbers. Can that happen?
How can one SDS have multiple UN numbers? You'll have multiple SDSs having single UN numbers can go into one container depending whether they can be loaded with each other. But why will you have an SDS with several UN numbers? You cannot do that. It's either a product or it's not a product. It cannot be many products together, no?
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, we are almost done with the questions. There are one or two more questions which were received during the registration process. Ms. Tanuja wanted to know why class 5.1 is not mixed with other classes.
Not mixed with other classes.
Class 5.1.
Okay, just a second. So what is the cargo that we are talking about in class 5.1?
They haven't mentioned, the question just says why class 5.1 is not mixed with other class. So you would, I guess they're talking about in a single container, maybe 5.1 plus other this thing. So maybe.
And what does 5 point? That's exactly what I am not going to be doing the basic answers over here. So what does class 5.1 stand for? Is that what that person has to write?
If Miss Tanuja is
So
online,
that's exactly what I'm saying. See, class 5.1 is something like a product like hydrogen peroxide. Now I've mentioned one product. Are you going to mix anything with this product? I think you can't even. The basic fact that class 5.1 is dangerous to any organic product
the one more,
is the answer.
yeah, one more question which has come is that which has cargo is prohibited or which port doesn't accept has cargo in India at all? Is there
Mumbai
a-
port.
Mumbai port. So car, bike,
The Mumbai port doesn't accept has cargo now.
so
It
car,
will, under special circumstances, it will. But as general, they prefer not handling dangerous cargo because it is right in the heart of the city.
so car, bike having battery is considered as has or non-has.
Car, what? Sorry?
A car or a bike which has a battery in it, is it considered has or a non-has?
I just took that. That slide was there.
Yeah.
Where I said that lithium-ion batteries are used in bikes and cars. And yes, they are dangerous, and you will really very soon see a complete new, amendment on that. So
Yeah.
yes, it is dangerous, and the lithium-ion battery, transportation of lithium-ion battery is considered as dangerous goods. So
With
you
that-
need a certificate for the battery, the testing of the battery. You'll require a lot more documentation when you are doing something like this. And again, while carriage, whether the battery is connected or it is not connected, and if it is not connected, is it, has it been kept properly or no? Is the lithium-ion battery in the vehicle or not in the vehicle? So there are many probabilities. So I don't see these questions are again mentioning that the persons who are asking these questions are not trained.
Yes.
Not that I want to say anything wrong about it. It is the fact that if you were trained and certified, you would have not come up with these questions. And similarly, so when it comes to your own customers whom you are dealing with, they would also be able to discuss this matter between each other in a much better and a professional manner. It's for their own benefit. It's not that I want to say anything wrong to somebody, but yes, I am like this. Whenever I discuss, I call a spade a spade. So I'm really very sorry about that.
Training is something which is anyway in our industry, something which people should come up and do it on regular basis, especially if they are handling mass
No,
cargo, they should definitely do
while
it. Yeah.
Priya, while I agree with you that yes, training is a must, but you see, a lot of things do not make it mandatory. When you are doing dangerous cargo, training is supposedly mandatory. And I use the word supposedly in India only. Anywhere in the world, it is
Yes, ma'am.
mandatory, period. If you are not certified, you are not trained, you cannot handle, period. There is a full stop. There's no comma, there is nothing.
Mr. Omkar Sawant has sent a very interesting question. Where can we get this training?
I'm not allowed to mention that over here. But yes, you can write to us, then I'll be happy to help you.
You can send your question to admin@amtoy.org. We will send a response to you with the details.
Yeah.
So over to Vasant. Thank you very much, Haresh ji, for that lovely session and lovely Q&A. Over to Vasant.
Priya, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Uh,
But Vasant, before you thank me, I have something to say to all the participants over here. You know, this team over here, Priya, Vasant, you know, of the training committee has been working day in, day out to bring all these, different subjects to all of AmToy, and I've really been working very hard. So allow me to first thank you for doing all these things. I am part of this committee with you all, but thank you very much for all the help and everything that you all do to make this training a success. So before you thank me, allow me to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, friends, thank you on behalf of AmToy. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Haresh for a beautiful session. And as always, with his stupendous knowledge on has cargo. And he's always available for any questions, any follow-ups. You can just write on the email ID what Priya just mentioned. And I would like to thank all the participants. We had a very good attendance. I think we had nearly 144 participants, plus a lot of them in group were attending in the offices. So this shows that you're okay, a lot of interest, and we would like to conduct more sessions. If you come back to us with any suggestions of any specific topics you all would like to know from us, and we can arrange these sessions for you. Thank you very much to everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your holiday now. We won't disturb you as well.